All right, my friends, I promised you we would bring these speakers, these monstrosities that this guy, Shane Rich, developed. I promised you when we were at the Expo show in Florida that we would bring these back to my place, do a little slugfest between them and my Status 8Ts that have served me as my reference system for about the last 7 years or so, 6 or 7 years. So it's time to give you those results. Hey folks, I'm Gene Della Sala with Audioholics, and we have a special guest, Mr. Shane Rich, Technical Director of RBH Sound. How you doing, my friend?
Doing great. Good to be here with you, Gene.
I can't believe he's telling me that he's doing great. He's been literally in the trenches in this room for like 3 days. measuring, EQing.
Yeah, the last few nights, I think we ended up calling it quits about 4 in the morning.
Yeah, honestly, we haven't slept a good night in the last couple of days. And the reason why is I finally met my match in terms of OCD. Shane Rich has as much or more OCD as I do, and he made the ultimate OCD speaker in the SVTRS signature line of product. And the reason why this is the ultimate OCD speaker is every aspect of this speaker is fully configurable, and it's all done through the magic of DSP. And this is very sophisticated stuff. This is the bleeding edge of technology that we are sitting at right now. With this speaker system, not only do we have the very best in Class D amplification to give you a total of about, what, 5,000 watts in the chassis?
Yes,
So this is an 8-channel amplifier that's running this system. So each speaker is tri-amplified. So you got 1,400 watts or
1,500.
I'm sorry, 1,500 watts for the woofers, 500 watts for the mids, and 250 watts for the AMT tweeter. That's a lot of power, and if you try to do that with a linear AB amp, you dissipate a lot of power. So an amplifier like this one, which is the Pascal module, has over 90% efficiency. And it runs on 120 or 220 volt. In fact, you have like a 30 amp fuse in this amplifier, right?
Yeah, it's 25 at the moment, but it could handle beyond 30 amps. Yeah.
So it could deliver everything that your wall current is capable of delivering it to this monster speaker. But the other secret behind the speaker, there are no analog crossovers in this speaker at all. So everything that Shane did to tune the speaker was done in the digital domain. And the advantage to that is every driver has basically perfect roll-off, perfect integration, no ringing in the filters. So I want you to maybe talk a little bit about what it is when you say linear phase, FIR, all-pass filters. What exactly is going on with this DSP box that makes this speaker so special?
Yeah, so it really is a different situation with this kind of product where we have really high order filters up to 108 dB per octave crossover network between the mid-range and the tweeter. It's a little shallower than that between the woofer and the mid-range. However, they're all linear phase, and by linear phase we mean there is no phase shift in the filter at all. So typically, anytime you have a crossover region, and you have the stop band where it starts to roll off, there will be a change in the phase at that point. And with the linear phase filters, there is no phase change throughout the whole bandwidth of the filter, and so you can have ideal time alignment or perfect matching between each of the individual drivers. What that results in is just sound that is completely coherent, effortless, because you have such a high roll-off rate between the drivers. Really makes a big difference in the sonic presentation.
So basically, you eliminate any ringing at all that can happen either through filters or through the drivers itself in terms of resonances.
Yeah, it definitely minimizes that. You have to be careful with the type of filter that you implement to make sure there is no ringing. But as I've shown you, the type of filters that we're using, there is no ringing even at 120 dB below the reference level.
Yeah, it's funny because when he was measuring the system using REW, I couldn't believe the kind of frequency response it was getting. It almost looked like we were in an anechoic chamber at high frequencies. Usually you see, you know, a bunch of resonances and stuff like that, and he was able to just really get the driver so coherently matched that there was no dips or any weird stuff going on between the transition regions between the drivers, and I was blown away. And the cool thing about it is we used our Status 8Ts as kind of the benchmark. And, you know, we were going back and forth and kind of comparing the speakers. He's like, well, I could give you a little bit more mid here. I could make it sound a little bit more intimate like the ATs. We could change the sound staging a little bit. He was literally transforming this speaker to make it sound very similar to the ATs, because let me just tell you something right now. The ATs are no slouch. These were what I thought would be my speakers for life. I told Shane when he brought these speakers up here 7 years ago, it took 4 of us to bring them up here, that these are the last speakers. Actually, he said these were the last speakers he'd build for me.
Yeah. Well, no, remember you said, these are the last speakers, and I said, never say never. Because I know Gene all too well. Upgrade-itis is one of the diseases that he is afflicted with.
So I'm going to tell you right now that I'm not going to be the typical reviewer that says, "Oh my God, this is the most amazing thing. Veils were lifted, butterflies were flying. It's a night and day difference from what I've already had." That's not the case, because what I've already had is pretty much the pinnacle of what you can get in commercial loudspeaker design for passive. But this is active, and the advantage here in active is fully customized sound, tuning to your room. The fact that this speaker has so much driver area, we were literally shaking the rafters, and this is no joke. He was playing some bass tracks, and I was really concerned about the foundation of this house. And we're getting ready to move. As you guys know, we're doing the Audioholics Smart House, and I'm like, Shane, please don't crack my floor. Don't shake down the house before I sell it.
Yeah, yeah, it is pretty fun to play around with a system like this. And as great as the Status 8Ts still are, the SVTRS system has over double the cone area, double the volume in the ports for the subwoofers, and so they're
like 5-inch ports.
6-inch flared ports, so yeah, just double the amount of air movement capability in the system. So as you saw when we were measuring in your room, we were getting a 3 dB down point of about 10 hertz.
All right, Bassaholics, come on, 3 dB point of 10 hertz. Actually, I thought it was 9 hertz. It's pretty much single digits, and you could boost that. We barely did any boost at all, and that's the kind of response we were getting. And that was in my front row. So the back row has even more gain. Let me just tell you guys, it can make Grandpa Simpson's teeth explode if we want to. So let me tell you about the configuration here. We have the 8-channel amplifier. We have, what's the name of the DSP that you're using?
It's a Marani professional DSP controller.
And what's that normally used for?
Normally used for studio type work or professional sound reinforcement. Yeah, it's really a high grade, really one of the very best you can get out there, and so has great signal to noise ratio. The processor and ability for resolution in the filters due to the number of taps in the filters is just top of the line.
It's
so
like
it's
1024 taps.
Well, all the way, 1024 through 8 channels, which can be gained together to give you up to over 4,000 taps for a single channel.
Wow, that's a lot of resolution. That certainly goes beyond what most room correction systems do, and to a passive speaker. So there's a lot more flexibility here. And now to connect everything together, because you guys, I know you guys love cables, and I love cables too. I love cables that are good cables. I love cables that aren't preaching snake oil. So the cool thing about it is, for you guys that are wondering if we did any elevation of our cables, they actually have one cable that's elevated. It's the jumper cable that goes from the top subwoofer to the bottom subwoofer, because the drivers in each subwoofer in series, and then they're in parallel together, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
So we do have some elevated cables. The rest of them are on the floor. They're doing okay. We don't have any static discharge or anything like that. And these are, you know, low resistance cables because we are pumping a lot of power through the system. So when you do a system like this, I personally would be using 10 gauge cable or lower resistance to wire up a system like this.
Yeah, so there's 10 gauge that's going to the subwoofers, also the jumper up top, as well as, again, in this system, there's just a lot of cable. And we were using really long lengths at the show, so it definitely made a difference to have something that was a really nice, higher quality, larger cable.
Right. So we did some listening as best as we could between the two speakers. Obviously, it's not a controlled test where you could do perfect placement when you have such a large speaker like this. We don't have a spinorama where we could rotate the speakers, but we did our best to kind of take the time to listen to the Status ATs and then to listen to the SVTRS system. And I could tell you a couple of things is there's a lot of similarities between these speakers, because when you design a speaker to have incredible dynamic range and incredible linearity, you're going to get a similarly good experience. But there are also differences in how these speakers play into the room. Some of it, I think, is because of the way we have woofers on the bottom of the towards the floor, some of them on the top. It probably does better control. And you actually, we saw this in the measurements, it does better vertical room mode control by having the woofers top and bottom. Is that the reason why you wanted to do this, or you just wanted to build a bigger speaker?
Well, no, that is definitely one of the reasons and rationales for putting another subwoofer on top, because it has better overall, smoother response in the room due to the control of the vertical room mode.
It also gets rid of floor and ceiling bounce, basically.
Yeah, yeah. It does help with that as well. And, of course, there's more output capability. Anytime you use more drivers in a system like this, you're lowering the overall distortion of the system. It just is a more effortless presentation.
That's the amazing thing, is no matter what kind of bass we threw at these subwoofers, I barely ever saw the drivers moving. I mean, when a driver is not working hard and it's not going in and out like a pump, it's not distorting, or the distortion is so low that it just has an effortless, clean sound to it.
Yeah, for sure. And you get that through the full range of frequencies. The 3 8-inch mid-range drivers, the surface area is really, you know, almost what a 15-inch driver would be. The tweeter has a surface area that's comparable, very close to almost a 6.5-inch driver. So it's just, when you have that much area, as they say, there's no replacement for displacement.
There you go, my friends. That's a great quote to remember. So in our listening test, at least I think we kind of both agreed, because we came to the same conclusions after we listened. We didn't want to precondition each other. But what I found was the SVTRS system has kind of a bigger, larger sound stage to it. Wasn't quite as focused as the AT system, but we were able to do some tuning to the system to customize the sound a little bit. The bass is actually a little different. This is what surprised us, is we could actually get the speakers to measure the same in bass, but because the AT system is really kind of bolted to the floor with these little pads, it was actually transferring more of the bass through the floor, and I could feel it on my riser platform, which is designed to shake with bass. So that transfer of the bass in the room was a little bit different, but also I felt like there was more mid-bass punch with the SVTRS system, just because of the way the woofers are loading into the room. So it was really 6 one, half dozen of the other.
Yeah. Yeah, your system has just been amazing over the years, as I've seen you put in different components, of course, our speaker system and other companies' products. And Gene has fine-tuned this to the hilt. How many hours do you think we've spent together fine-tuning your system over the years?
If we spend any more time together, I think someone's going to think we're married.
Yeah. All right. We've got to put an end to this.
We definitely do. Well, I mean, hopefully this is the last speaker you build for me, because I'm tired of moving these heavy boxes up and down stairs. Well, luckily I got some extra muscle. We got another RBH guy, Mr. Darren Egan, behind. He's all the muscle here. He's the one that's going to be lifting the ATs, because I'm about to announce to you guys that it looks like the SVTRS system is going to be my reference system going forward. I like to embrace future technologies. We're going to be doing some really great things in the smart home. We're going to be doing a fully digital Atmos system. So we're going to have an AES2 digital interface. Is that what we're doing between the SVTRS system and the Storm audio processor?
Yes, if that's what it has. I know you were looking at either Dante or AES digital.
Yeah, so my goal is, even though this processor has incredible ADC conversion on it, I don't care. I want to do everything digital to the DSP and then go right to the amp. And it's going to be one of the first systems that I know in a consumer's home that's doing this. And all of the speakers are going to be powered by Class D amplification, the Pascal, the same module. So we're talking lots of power, lots of clean power, efficient power, and the ability to DSP tune everything. So right now we're using the center channel, which has 2 8s and the same AMT. And what's the model number of that center?
That's the SV821.
So the really cool thing, and I know this video is going on, but this is our last opportunity to talk about this when RBH is here. I told Shane, I go, I really like the Status 8C center channel, and he only built one of those, and I had the prototype of that center. I go, Shane, I really love the sound of the center. He brought this center over here, and I was like, you know, it sounds good, but I kind of liked some things that the 8C did better. So he measured the 8C, then he measured this center channel, and we kind of lined up the curves together. And what blew me away was the fact that he was able to tune this center channel to get similar response to my 8C. And in some aspects, you actually improved upon things.
Yeah. It's just amazing what you can do with the digital technology these days. And, you know, there are probably some people out there, maybe some analog people that think, you know, why would you go to the digital realm when there really is great equipment in the analog domain that, you know, passive filters, you can make a really nice speaker system. But when it comes to getting the exact sound you want, and again, you and I are probably one step over the hill in terms of how we want to tune things and how accurate we want the sound to be. So, in accuracy in this case, we can get that accuracy without interjecting noise like used to be the case years ago when you're dealing with some of these digital components. There's just a different level of performance and resolution that you can now get with current technology.
Yeah, it's incredible, guys. So they do offer a passive version of this system. I believe the SVTRS in the passive is around, what, 20, 25 grand?
About $20,000, yes, for the same speaker with a passive network. Or we also sell it in combination with some of our subwoofer amplifiers, you know, powering just the subwoofer, and then you'd use your standard multi-channel amp to power the mids and tweeter, or a stereo amplifier.
So if you want the fully active version, the ones we have here, the SVTRS with the Marani processor and the 8-channel amp, that's around, what, 40, 45 grand?
45,000, yes. And there are a few other additional upgrades to this speaker system. We really designed it with Gene in mind, quite frankly. We knew we had to outdo what we'd already done with the Status 8T speaker system, and that was no small feat. So we kept some of the things that we'd built into the 8T, for instance, some of the nicer binding posts, the nicer cabling, damping material in the cabinet. Yeah, so there's some extras. Oh, can't forget the magnets that hold the grills on, of course. So all these things. But of course, that cost includes the 6 or 8 channels of amplification, depending on whether you're using the system just as a stereo pair, or if you'd like to combine a center channel with it, then you'd go to the 8 channels for the active crossover and amplification for the center channel, like we've done here, and the DSP controller, and then last but not least, for that $45,000 price, we're willing to come out and tune the system to your room.
Nice. Is that you personally that comes out?
It will be for the foreseeable future, yes.
He might never leave your home. If you feed him chocolate, you'll have him there for days tuning your system.
Yeah. Well, it's a great experience to be with anyone that's as passionate about audio as we are. It's just, we really enjoy our time with people that enjoy these types of products.
So lastly, one thing I wanted to tell you guys, if you can't put, because this is an imposing box, it's big, it's almost to the height of my ceiling, and it's, what, about 2 feet deep or so. Right. So if you can't put this into a room, they do have an in-wall equivalent, and that's what we're going to be using for the center channel in the new place. We're actually going to take the top or the middle part of the speaker, which has a slightly different arrangement of the drivers, so it could go in the wall, and that's going to go behind an acoustically transparent screen. And they also offer an array of in-wall subwoofers that you could use with this system, right?
Yes, true. That would complement it and bring you up to the same level of performance that we have here in the freestanding product. Should probably also mention that if by chance you don't feel like you can fit this entire 7.5-foot tower into your room and want to go with a smaller version, just using the 2 modules on the bottom or eliminating the top subwoofers, that option is available well. We sell it in a passive version starting at about $12,000 with amplification for the subwoofers, going at about in the 15 range probably. So yeah, there are a lot of different options with this type of modular speaker system.
The last thing I want to mention is the fact that I know there's going to be people that are astute watchers of this site and channel, and they know that I'm all about multi-sub and strategically putting multi-sub in the right locations of the room to balance out the room modes and to get even bass in every seat. Admittedly, the top subs would probably serve better in this room if they were in the corners and the back wall. That's something I'm going to be looking at doing in the new place, and I might even keep the stack like this and maybe add another sub in the back. So one thing that really is great is when Shane or someone from RBH comes out and evaluates your room, is they can figure out whether it's better to have the subs up here like it is now, or to put these subs into other areas of the room and then still tune and EQ the system.
Right. Yeah. The real advantage here, of course, is helping to control with that height associated room mode. Also, it really makes a difference in terms of the overall presentation of the speaker system. From a visual standpoint, have to admit it's very impressive that way. So, you know, we're open to being flexible as to how it will best fit in the environment that it needs to go into.
What about color options besides the shiny black or glossy black? What other color options do you have for the speaker?
Just gloss black at the moment. So
you can have any color you want as long as it's gloss black.
Right, yeah. 8 layers of polyester piano black finish on it, so really a high-end finish. We do have options to address any reflections if you're putting it near a screen like you are, so we'll have something to address that as well.
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Shane, I really thank you and Darren for coming out and setting this stuff up for me. I just really never thought I'd see another giant speaker in this room. This has been an awesome experience. I can't wait to kind of really get to know the speaker better. I'm going to be doing more videos on the speaker. I'm going to do a review as well, give more technical details for those that really want to know the info. And then when we move, we're going to reset up the whole system with the Storm Audio electronics in a different kind of room environment. I'm really building a room that's going to lower the noise floor. It's going to be acoustically isolated from the rest of the house. It's going to have better symmetry for the walls. So I'm really looking forward to see how the sound transforms when I go into a new place with this system. And this system's going to grow with me because it's DSP configurable and I could just tune it. I just love the future. I'm embracing it and I'm really enjoying this whole experience. So guys, if you like this video, please thumb it up. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Why don't you comment down below what your favorite RBH speaker is? Are you an RBH owner? What speakers do you have, or what speakers do you aspire to have? Give some feedback, because these guys will be watching this video and they could probably go in and answer any questions you have for their products. So until next time, my friends, keep listening.
Amazing there. You're doing great. Look, not even streaking or nothing. Look at that polish.
We do not want to see Darren streaking.